I heard a statistic a while back that kind of blew my mind. I mean, although it shouldn't necessarily be considered a shocker, it kind of intrigued me just a little bit. Now, this article may have been dated, maybe these numbers are different due to inflation, but I read somewhere a while back that in order to be considered in the top percentages of the Philippines, your net worth, assets, and all included have to equate to roughly $60,000, right? So we'll say somewhere in the realm of about 3 million pesos if you do 50 to the dollars, 50 to $1, roughly 3 million pesos will put you in the top echelon in the Philippines. Now, a lot of people will say, Doc, what the fuck that got to do with the price of tea in China? It has everything to do with the price of tea in China. Because when you have women, and usually I like to equate financial stability and all of that stuff to women, because usually when it comes to guys and traveling abroad, they seem to go hand in hand. $250,000 in the US, that might cripple a motherfucker like me. No, it will cripple somebody like myself, the brokies and shit. But 250,000 pesos? Although I would never drop that on one person at any given moment of time, I can swing 250,000 pesos, you feel me? And when gentlemen start to understand the value of the dollar, the value of the peso more specifically, and how far the money could potentially go in the country, their whole mindset starts to change. But, like my man said back in the day, more money, more problems. What I've learned about financials and how most people view finances, especially when they're broke, they tend to pay close attention to how much money they spend. But when you're rich, and I promise you, you'll hear this amongst a lot of people who make really good money, money doesn't mean anything to them. And of course, you know why. But what I'm starting to learn is when it comes to money and women, dealing with women in the East and the West, of course, Western women seem to focus a lot on the material things, right? I want the latest bag, right? The newest car, the best of shoes and the jewelry and all of that shit. You'll see this, right? And I think a lot of you guys know where I'm going with this one. But when it comes to dealing with women in the East and what they're looking for in reference to financial security or financial help in any regard, they seem to be a little bit more practical in what they want you to spend money on. Now, every now and again, they might want to go take, ball till you fall at the uka, depending on the mindset of the young lady you're dealing with, of course. But what I've learned about Filipinas and women in the East that are not influenced by women in the West, they seem to ask for things of practicality, things that could potentially benefit them and their families in the long run. In the chat, I'm sorry, not in the chat, but in the comment section below, let me know if you have heard any of the following requests from Filipino women. Can you help me fund a sorry store? Can you buy me a house? Not an expensive house, just a house so that she could put her family up and stuff like that. Or can we can we buy a house, but put it in my name? What else was there? Off the top of my head, it eludes me. I'm sorry. But tell me if you've heard of any of these and let me know what other requests you've heard before in the comment section below. You start to understand that the things that they ask for are things that are practical and things that they actually need, or things that they're actually seeking to do for themselves. All right? Things that if you do right by them, they will appreciate over time. Granted, a sorry store, you can't expect it to make millions of dollars unless you're literally the only sorry store for miles around. But if you do right by it, you're in a good location, you can make okay pesos, right? I'm not going to say you're going to get rich, but you could do all right. But then you start to build and build other ones off of the one that you have and stuff, and you start to expand. Anybody with a business mindset could take that to the next level. But ultimately, what I've learned is our finances, although this is not a secret and Doc's not dropping any knowledge that you don't already know, our finances go very far in a place like the Philippines, especially when you're considered top echelon in and around $60,000 US, assets included. If you're in that realm, you are considered top echelon in the country. So you see how a lot of guys have this feeling of, yo, I can do big things in the Philippines because my money goes longer. And how you start to see how guys manage in dealing with women in the US and other countries where it might be a little bit more expensive, they don't have that same bravado, And so when I tell people there's a big difference between 250K and 250P, PHP, I think y'all pick up what I'm putting down. But it still does not mean that you can't go broke in a place like the Philippines, even though your money goes longer than it probably would in any other country. All that means is if you have been able to amass and acquire wealth, you have to do your best to protect it at all costs. Now, if you're the type of person that has found a way to make that money come in consistently on a monthly basis, sometimes it goes up, and if it does fall, it doesn't fall by much. So your lifestyle your lifestyle does not have to change as a result of whether you earn this amount on a monthly basis. Then you live in a world where the same money management rules don't apply to you, right? And you could especially see how a lifestyle for yourself in a place like the Philippines will definitely, it'll change your perspective. It'll definitely change how you feel about, probably living in other countries and stuff like that. So for me, ladies and gentlemen, when I heard that stat, all it did was motivate and inspire, man. We are all in a position probably at this moment, if you're not close to retirement, if you're not already a digital nomad, if you haven't already set up something for yourself to be able to work on the move, a lot of us are probably in a position where it's either do or die when you're trying to get up out of here. So now's the time to create that money making move, bro. Now more than ever is the time for you to create that money making move. If you're comfortable grinding it out for a couple of more years in the States before you actually call it quits, do so, right? If you can do a couple more years, knock it out. If you got to the point where you done, you finished, finito, kaput, I think it's now more than ever time for you to start thinking about an exit plan and how long it's going to take for you to get to that exit plan. Because it doesn't take very much money to live off of in the Philippines on a monthly basis. It doesn't take much. Everybody's number is different, respect, but it don't take much, man. It does not take much to live a decent life in the Philippines on a monthly basis. So it's not as if you have to have this grandiose amount of money and that just seems so just absurdly crazy to have on a monthly basis in order for you to survive and live in the Philippines. But I'll tell you this, the more you can make it, damn sure ain't gonna hurt. That's all I'm gonna say. The more you can make it, ain't gonna hurt you. But I'm gonna let y'all go ahead and marinate on that for a little bit, man. Y'all know what time it is, man. Time for me to go and get to getting. So with that being said, the good doc is officially out. I at least nako paalam, which means I am going now. Bye-bye, as always. Love you guys. Sincerely do. Mahal kita. Mabuhay. Peace.